Hello everyone, coming to you today with a random video, and today's topic I thought would be internships and teachers. I've had an interesting experience with both of these forms of, labor in that I've had to put up with teachers that I enjoyed and that I felt I got extended value from throughout life, and I've also had a lot of bad teachers, and this goes the same for internships. Now, in case my audience is not aware of what internships are kind of like jobs, sort of side jobs, part-time jobs where an employer wants a certain amount of work done for a particular area you're trying to go for. So for example, I'm going for marketing. So if I'm going for marketing within a business degree, I should apply for marketing internships, and that's what I've been doing throughout my years in college. And I've also been taking classes in college and have had to put up with professors and teachers, and at the same time I've had a lot of good experiences and a lot of bad ones, and I just kind of wanted to express my thoughts in regards to these two topics in this video, and briefly address sort of my ups and downs and see if anybody else has had similar or different experiences. Now with teachers, I'll start off with the good. So the good teachers that I've had were always ones that were passionate about their subject and liked talking about their subject. Not just within the having just a formal lecture, but actually, going maybe a little bit off topic, but talking about the practical things that they would do within their job. I had this one marketing teacher just this semester that I got finished with, and she was very approachable, very friendly, and she really was passionate about what she was talking about and really interested in having these kinds of discussions with students about various topics that sort of dealt with the class. And sometimes she would bring in food. She would buy food for us to try from like various different cultures because we were in international marketing. So I found her way of teaching although at times, she had to give the formal kind of lecture that she's supposed to give, she kind of was sort of against it at times and realized, they're really not paying attention. Let's just have a discussion. And she would like to try to get the students invested. And she also provided career advice, and that was the only teacher I've ever had that's really offered an insight into career advice, and kind of the positions that you could get within marketing. So I thought that was really fascinating, and I really enjoyed the way that she taught the class, because she went beyond just the formal structure. And I feel like a lot of teachers that I've had within college that go beyond such the formal structure have been good teachers. However, there's some that have not. For example, I remember taking geology within my sophomore year, and there was this geology teacher who wanted us to do this assignment and go up into basically somewhere in the woods and find rocks and kind of explain how these rocks were formed, what kind of rocks they were, kind of developing sort of these theories around rocks. So each person was assigned with like a different location, and he basically gave me a location that was not public property, or it was basically privately owned, so you couldn't really technically go in that area. But me and my mother went there anyway because we had to do the assignment, and yeah, I just thought that was just completely ridiculous how he just pointed onto a map and said, yeah, go there. and then we go there and it's not even an area that you can explore, and it's not even an area that's that really had what we were looking for initially too. So it almost seemed like this teacher didn't really know what he was doing, and it was frustrating, and he was trying to go beyond just teaching the formal lecture, but it really backfired because we just had to go to a place where it was completely blocked off, and a place that we really shouldn't have gone, but we went anyway because we wanted to do the assignment. So yeah, I've had to put up with those kinds of professors. There's also a professor I had to put up with, I remember last year, and he did not know what he was teaching. It was what he was technically supposed to teach. He was part of the master's program initially at my school, and he was teaching master's level material, and he didn't know how to teach principles of finance, and instead he taught us advanced finance. So we were given material that master's students are given who already have an established background of finance. And not only was this made clear to us sort of in the class by just looking at the material, there were actual other teachers who said what he is teaching you is not what you should be learning. And that was a little ridiculous. And what made it even more ridiculous was the fact that since so many people did horrible on the tests and stuff, he would have to curb it. And ultimately I ended up getting an A in the class, but I felt like I learned absolutely nothing, and that he just went over things really quickly and didn't really explain it all that well, or explain it in simple terms to where a junior level college student could understand. Bachelor's level again. So that was a ridiculous class. So those are the kinds of things that I've seen to come across when it comes to teachers, at least for in college. In high school, I felt like a lot of the times you either had teachers who really were into their subject, and then some teachers who did not care like at all. And I've gotten this as well within college. I've noticed that there's been professors who just really don't care, and don't really care about what happens to the students. You know, don't really monitor the progress of the kids. You know, don't really. They don't. Sometimes professors can make you feel like a number, regardless of how big or small the class is. I feel like some professors can still treat you like you're just a number that I'm supposed to get through and teach some material, and that I'm not of value to society, I guess, or to the class, or anything. It's almost like they feel like they can talk down to you because they're older than you, and they feel like they're a lot smarter, and so on and so forth. But they come off as arrogant and sometimes really lazy. I remember one teacher that I had just this semester. She we had a group assignment, and each group was supposed to come in and talk with the teacher because she graded the assignment and she wanted to go over it with us and explain like her criticism of it. We walk in and she starts talking, and at times there were really long pauses. Like she would just look over the paper and pause, and then she'd ask us a question, and then she'd say, oh wait, no, you actually answered that question, never mind. And then even at one point she goes, I don't really know what I was doing when I was grading your paper. I might have been watching television or something. And I'm thinking to myself, really? Like, really? You did not take the time to just sit down and have no distractions and just look at our paper. And even as you go through the paper, you realize that your questions are invalid because we answered them in the paper. It almost seemed like that I almost wanted to say, did you even read through the entire paper? Like, it just, it just was, I was just blown. I was just thinking to myself, really? Like, what? It just mind boggled me how little she cared. I mean, I was just so blown, because not only were these groups fairly large, there were only 4 groups, so she only had to grade like 4 papers. And these papers actually weren't that long, because they were just a small portion of what ultimately would be our final paper. And it just blew me away. I just did not understand. I just did not get it at all. And I feel like those are the kinds of teachers I've come across. Lazy, incompetent teachers who don't care. Teachers that are really invested and want their students to succeed, and want to provide them some insight into their own personal career and help guide students. And there are just teachers who feel like that, who can't seem to grasp how to present the material to the students, because they haven't taught the subject before, or they're just completely unaware of how to simplify their material so that students can understand, and to the point where it's what students should be learning. So there's that. And there's also teachers, like I said before, who, like my geology teacher, who was really passionate about a subject, but did things that were completely irrational and didn't really follow through with what ultimately for what he was trying to get us to do. And I think that just kind of says something. But ultimately, I think it's easy to tell what professors are going above and beyond, and what professors are trying to teach you something and trying to get something across to you and trying to engage you. And then there are just professors who just want to write out the material and don't care who passes, who fails. And it's just really, it's just a really interesting topic, I think, to talk about, because teachers, professors, they're kind of leaders, at least for people like me and younger, even for older people too who are going for masters. They're leaders, and they are given an important job. And I sometimes feel at times that some of these professors, or teachers, however you want to call them, don't take their job seriously. And there's also professors who go above and beyond and really show you that they care. There was one professor who I remember, he would always say hi to us, and he would remember our last names, and he would never address us by our first name. He always would say Miss So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so, and he would say it in kind of this really funny kind of tone, like Miss Mocalis, or he would just say it with this kind of laid-back sort of enthusiasm, if that kind of makes any sense. But he was always very approachable, and I could always talk to him if I felt like I needed something to be addressed. So, again, even these kinds of simple things are going above and beyond. I mean, his class ultimately didn't really do much for me personally, but the fact that I was able to interact with him in such a friendly way really makes a difference. And I think really teachers should really take these things into consideration, because if you do small things, it says a lot, and people will appreciate you for it. Now, having that being said, after discussing professors, I'd like to move on now to discussing internships. Now, I have had a total of, from now, 4 internships dealing with marketing, and 1 part-time job that deals with accounting. My first internship was at Golden Spoons, which is a frozen yogurt company, and the manager there did not seem like he had a clue what he was doing. The back room was completely unorganized. Everything was like all over the place. It was hard to figure out exactly what he wanted me to do at times, because whenever I would ask at certain points, do you want me to come in today? No, you don't need to come in today. And then last minute that he would tell me, no, you don't need to come in. This didn't really start off at the beginning. At the beginning, he did have work for me to do, and he did give me tasks. But then a little later down the road, it wasn't even like within a couple of months, he started really saying, no, you don't need to come in, or no, you don't need to do anything, or it seemed like he had no clue what he wanted to do with me at all, or even it didn't even seem like he wanted to teach me anything or go over anything. All he wanted to do was just have some work done, and he seemed like he didn't really know what he wanted me to do after like 2 months, even though I did come in on occasion until the end of the semester. So, and it's just really, he also had this really odd attitude of, at times it seemed like he'd be stressed out, and then he'd lash out on me for like really no reason, or the reasoning is just really, it's just really odd to me, at least. It seemed like at times he just didn't know what he wanted to do, and it seemed like he didn't think through his ideas. So yeah, it was not fun to have my spring semester spent at this place. And I was technically a marketing assistant for him. And it was funny because he said he would pay me at the end of the internship. And once the semester started to end, I kind of explained to him, look, I can only, do so much for you. I'm going to be gone for summer, so if there's anything that you want me to do. And he kind of said yeah, and then he's like, no, not really. So it was just hard because I felt like I wasn't really gaining anything out of the experience, and he wasn't really showing me anything. It was just random tasks, just do them, okay, I'm done. And at the end, he was supposed to give me some kind of compensation, and I asked him for that compensation, and he said, yeah, I'll be sure to send it out to you. Wait around forever. Don't hear anything, don't get anything in the mail like he said he would send. So my mom had to contact the school and ask them to get in contact with him, because we had trouble getting in contact with him. And he finally sent it to us, and it took forever. It was just a hassle, and it was just awkward too, especially when he said clearly the first day when I came in, he's like, I will give you some form of compensation at the end. So that was a bogus internship. Next internship I had was within the spring semester again of my sophomore year, and I was a marketing intern for this small company called Exclusive Policy Review, and they did they reviewed life insurance policy basically, and sort of were responsible for taking liability away from people who sold life insurance policies. So my job was to find contacts for my boss so that they could send out letters, send out emails, call people, form relationships with their customers through newsletters and posting things on Twitter and such. So I really got some sort of hands-on experience because my boss was fairly friendly. He was really open. It didn't feel like he was on the edge constantly. He liked showing me various things, and he was just so open, and I felt like even though a lot of this I wasn't really learning all that much, I was still gaining a a positive experience because it was a welcoming environment, and I still learned various things and how to accomplish tasks and how to find certain things, and I think it was very valuable. And I just feel like it's really how your boss carries him or herself, and I think he was really nice overall. However, I did end the internship towards the end of the summer, and I said I'm going to be starting a new year now, and I feel like I've learned that all I could really learn here, and I sort of ended it from there and sort of moved on. And then in my junior year, I started an internship under our school's program called For a Cause, and it basically dealt with companies that were sort of nonprofit and dealt with various charity works. And I was assigned to the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, and they had a lot of problems. To start out, they really weren't all that organized, and they really weren't all that there. I was experiencing sort of a similar scenario to what I did with Golden Spoon, in that they don't seem to be all there. They don't really seem to offer you any help or insight. And one of my bosses, after sort of 6 months, she left the company, and then I had to wait for another person to become in charge, and then I had to update them about what I was doing. And basically I was doing like marketing stuff, but marketing stuff more for the campus. That was sort of my idea, was to get the organization on to campus and have it sort of carry itself onto the campus so that it could have a future there, because they wanted to have a larger presence within the area that my college was located in. So I thought that I think helped them a lot ultimately. It was just hard because a lot of the times they had a difficulty in trying to see things through, and I felt like I was doing all the work, and again that I wasn't really getting any help. Ultimately, I was really the one helping and pushing the company in the right direction so that they could get themselves known on the campus. And I really did feel alone at points, and although my boss was both bosses were fairly nice, I still felt that there was a lot of work that the organization needed to work on. And when I finally looked at the charity walk that they ended up doing, it kind of made me realize how out of place things were, and it didn't seem all there. And for some reason, I just felt like that everybody that was involved, it didn't seem like that they cared either, and it was just so odd. It was a really weird experience, but overall I think I've learned a lot, and I was glad to be done. And I moved on after a year with that. And then after that, I currently work for a graphic sort of computer design company, and I help with marketing there, and so far it's been going well, and I hope to get it as a class so I don't have to take a class next semester, and I could just have this work as an internship, and then after that I'll have a total of over 2 years of marketing experience. But it seems like a lot of the problems that I see with internships is really similar to the problems that I see with teachers. It's just that there's a lack of care, there's a lack of knowledge, and there's a lack of having time to be invested in the job. And I feel like a lot of the times the similar things that I've seen happening in internships is the same thing that's happening within our education system, I feel. So either way you go, there's always going to be some kinds of there's going to be some lack of organization, there's going to be some lack of knowledge, and the important thing is that no matter what's thrown at you, you just do your best and you just offer something, and that you just do the job. That's all you need to really do. That's the only obligation you have as a student and as an intern. And if you do those things, then you'll be okay. I just don't understand how working people can work in such a way that's so, it's just so unorganized. There's no focus, there's no direction. It feels so lost at times. And I think it just shows how some people fall into maybe jobs that really they aren't designed for. I almost feel like sometimes with the internships that I've had, there's just this lack of focus with some of the people that are in charge, and they don't seem to have the willpower to be invested in what they're doing. So it is that kind of a similarity going on with teachers, and the fact that you're going to have some people that care, that are very invested, very interested, and then just don't know how to execute their work or show off their work properly. Again, when I was given an assignment from the Leukemia Lymphoma Society to sort of form a meeting with them on the campus so they could present to students, my boss was late. He didn't touch on things that the students would be interested in, or didn't touch on some things that the students would be interested in, and he seemed to be put on the spot. And I almost wanted to say, didn't you at least prepare a little bit for this? Did you at least try to look in and see what would be important to talk about? It's almost like I handed you everything and this is the results that you returned to me. It's almost like it was almost like a slap in the face. But regardless, I still feel that overall you learn from the bad as much as you learn from the good. You learn as much from the bad teachers as you do from the good ones. And it's the same with internships. You learn from the good ones that you've had and the bad ones too. So ultimately it's really a matter of what's given to you. But I would encourage everybody to try to do their best with wherever you are, and that's all you can do, and that's all the world can ask from you. And whatever that ends up being, just know that there's not everything's going to go smoothly, not everything's going to go 100% the way you want it to. But even despite that, there are also good things that come out and good things that'll come your way. So it's kind of like life, and ultimately there's going to be those jobs and those classes that'll be a lot easier on you and a lot more interesting to you, and then there'll be others that are completely not, and a lot of that has to do with the teacher and the subject, and with an internship it has to do with the work you're given and also the boss that instructs you. So I think that's really all I can say, but if there are any questions, comments, concerns, more than happy to answer them. I think this was an interesting topic to cover, and I look forward and and would be interested to hear anybody else's experiences that they've had and how they've sort of dealt with those experiences. But until next time, everybody,